Good morning, all of you. My fellow colleagues from the automotive OEM side, vendor partners, participants from various institutes and industrial associations, dealers, members from the logistics solution providers, and the friends from the media. Warm good morning to all of you. I do believe that a dedicated event like this for the commercial vehicle is happening at an opportune moment when the COVID is behind us and the sustainability is taking a center stage in almost all sectors of the economy, with the commercial vehicles not being an exception to that. The logistics and the transportation industry has been core to our economic growth. You name any sector, whether it is the infrastructure, whether it is communication sector, whether it is power, whether it is defense. We made a significant stringency that came in through the requirement of onboard diagnostics. I would say the stringent onboard diagnostics, the requirement of the real world emission measurement, what we call them as the RDE, real driving emissions, and also the requirement in terms of the in-service conformity. So now we have, as an automotive fraternity, we have been able to deliver that. Now the products complying with the BS6 phase 2 are already now in the market, and from 1st of April the sale has been happening. So when this is happening as far as the emission side is concerned, and rightly so, because India as a country, we have this challenge of the urban air pollution. But there also has been equally strong focus by all of us, and including the government, in terms of a transition to the alternate fuel. So while the CNG scenario started long back, and I remember in the early part of I would say the year 2000, with the requirement of the entire public transport fleet in Delhi to be transitioned to the CNG. While it might have taken so many years now to get the CNG to where it is today, and I per se refuse to call that as alternate fuel because it is almost becoming like a mainstream fuel. So therefore, in the intervening period in the last 3 years, the industry has been able to deliver the number of CNG vehicle options, and I think it continues to do so, including the new launches which have been happening. From my company, a couple of days back, even on the passenger vehicle side, we have launched the Ultra CNG as a case in point. So while this energy transition is good to speak about, but it was very clear to all of us, and I am here talking not just for the Tata Motor, but I think what I see as what has been delivered by the industry per se is not just compliance to the regulations, not just the compliance to the requirement of alternate fuel, but also what can be delivered as a value to the customer. And therefore, the connected vehicle features, we started to get some traction, I would say 2 to 3 years back, is now firmly in place, and in fact, as a part of BS6 phase 2, many of us have been delivering the vehicles with even the advanced connectivity features, which can help the end customers to actually plan their business, especially for the fleet operators. The safety has been taken to the next level, and so the comfort and the convenience. So when it comes to the, let's say, for the truck operator or the driver sitting in the truck cabin, the comfort and convenience is extremely important, and the driver is somebody who is actually neglected for quite some time, but there is a significant realization which has come now, and therefore the strategies by the OEMs around the comfort and the convenience for the drivers in the truck cabin, and so the case as far as the passengers in the buses are concerned, is something that has been taken to the next level. So therefore we have been, I would say, clearly on the path of a transformation and the decade of a technology, what I said before. The first, let's say, the transformation journey in the form of the launch of the BS6 phase 1 in 2020, and the second one with the launch of the BS6 phase 2 in 2023. And while that emission transition acted as a trigger, but I think the OEMs and all of us put together have made significant effort in terms of delivering the value to the customer. And therefore, at this point in time, in my view, very clearly, we are on to the next phase of a product transformation journey. Now, before I get into the technology disruption, let me just do some context setting in terms of the CV industry per se. And if I talk about the global CV industry, the North America, the European Union, and the China will continue to remain the largest market for the commercial vehicles till 2030. According to the projections, the global sales of the medium and the heavy commercial vehicles will cross 3.3 million units, which is 33 lakh units a year by 2030, a compounded annual growth rate of 2%. So from now to 2030, the global growth rate is going to be 2%. As far as the major markets are concerned, like North America, European Union, and China. However, it is also predicted by the leading market research companies that the markets like India, Latam, that is Latin America, Middle East, and the African region will grow much faster when compared to the developed world with a CAGR of around 5%. So that is something which is a good news for all of us. It has also been predicted that in addition to the OEM vehicle sales, the traditional business models of bodybuilding, aftermarket services, captive financing options, and the fleet management solutions will continue to add to the consolidated revenue pool of the commercial vehicle industry. Now, while that is the case as far as the global arena is concerned, with the growth momentum which is there despite the, let's say, the Ukraine war and other geopolitical tensions, but the growth is going to be seen, and more for the growth as far as the Indian continent is concerned. Coming to specifically now talking about our domestic market, the CV industry has experienced very tough times in the decade gone by due to the combination of the cyclical slowdown along with other factors. However, the industry also has been going through the combination of the headwinds and the tailwinds. So normally from the CV industry, we look at both the headwinds and the tailwinds, and then we look at whether the headwinds are stronger than the tailwinds or the vice versa. And at this point in time, it does appear to us that there is a strong tailwinds, which actually is going to propel the momentum as far as the commercial vehicle industry is concerned. Just to recite a few of the headwinds that still we face today, and I think we need to watch them very closely. While the COVID-19 pandemic appears to be behind us, but we still need to be cautious. The good news is that the WHO recently announced that it's no more now the pandemic, and I think that is the good news, but we still, I think, need to watch. The semiconductor shortage continues to haunt us. The higher commodity cost, while we seem to be off the peak, but I think you never know, some or other commodity always shows the signs of peaking. Lack of availability of the finance options and the higher finance cost, liquidity crunch, and the evolution of a GST regime, even though it came much before, but I think the stabilization has taken time, and the dynamic regulatory regime are some of the important headwinds that we as an industry that we have been facing. Some of us might be behind us, but we are in the thick of some of them. However, what are the tailwinds? And there are significant tailwinds which are actually at play. The rapid rate of urbanization, the government spending on infrastructure development, upswing in economic activities, the growth of e-commerce, a robust policy framework like the FAIR subsidy, I think that is something that we need to cheer about. The vehicle scrappage policy, the national logistics policy, auto PLI, national hydrogen mission, and standardized fuel prices have all started giving us the positive, I would say, the tailwind as far as this sector is concerned. And also not to forget about the interest rate. While there has been continuous rise in the interest rate, but I think the interest rate seems to be peaking at this point in time, and I think it may get hold for some time before actually we see a downward trajectory as far as the interest rates are concerned. Now, therefore, while I spoke about what has gone by until 2023, and how is the global setup in terms of the CV industry per se and the domestic market per se in terms of the headwinds and the tailwinds. Now the technical disruption is something which I thought I must talk here. So when it comes to the technology disruption, the commercial vehicle industry follows the tradition of disruptions, and these disruptions have been unfolding at a very, very rapid pace in front of us. The OEMs are actually also responding in a way. I think they have been responding in the past through the agility and the innovativeness. The launch of zero-emission vehicle is likely to disrupt the sector in the next 5 to 10 years. I think this is very clear. Writing on the wall is absolutely clear. Alongside, there is a significant focus on connectivity, ADAS, and circularity. and I will elaborate some of them later on. Need for real-time monitoring, tracking, effectively managing the product delivery systems. All of them have triggered the need for smart and effective vehicle solutions. And I will talk about this vehicle solution part a little later. So all of this is going to impact the critical 4 areas in the vehicle. And here I am just restricting the role as far as the OEM and the vendor ecosystem is concerned. And what are those 4 areas? Basically the increased software content in the vehicle, the growing volume of data that is going to be generated and transmitted by the critical vehicle systems, increased risk of safety and cyber security, and the software architecture as far as the vehicle is concerned. So these are the 4 broad areas where there is going to be a significant, I would say, the technology play that is going to happen as far as the commercial vehicle industry is concerned. The demand and the regulations have been driving the shift to new energy and zero emission regime, very clear. The total cost of ownership for battery electric vehicles is likely to attain parity with that of the conventional ICE vehicles. As we know that with the passage of the regulation, the conventional ICE vehicles become more expensive, and whereas with the regime of the battery prices falling down, the economy of scale that is kicking in, what the PLI is doing in terms of the focus on the localization with DVA, that is domestic value add, I think is all putting together a pressure in a positive sense as far as the cost structure for the electric vehicles are concerned, and therefore I say that shortly we will have the price parity between the IC vehicle and the battery electric vehicle. And having said that, I am not saying that the battery electric vehicle is a panacea in all sectors. We will talk about that little later. The demand and the regulations, as I said, is going to drive the shift to zero emission vehicles, and hydrogen and the ICE technology and the fuel cell will certainly make a sense for certain categories of vehicles. So what is largely being said is that the vehicles which come under category of, say, public transport like the buses or the last mile delivery vehicles or the light commercial vehicles, these are the category of the vehicles where the battery electric vehicles seem to be making sense from the customer business case point of view. Whereas the vehicles which are used for the long haulage, where the requirement of the mileage is high in terms of the distance that is going to be covered, the payload becomes critically important. That is where the hydrogen makes sense, either it is through the H2ICE, that is hydrogen burned in the ICE engine, or via the hydrogen fuel cell. So with the commitment to the decarbonization targets and the addressal to perennial problem of dependence on the crude import and the energy security, India's aggressive action plan in terms of the Panchamrut, which got announced as a part of a COP26 by the Honorable Prime Minister, is actually going to take us a very long way in terms of the decarbonization, not just of the automotive sector but also the other sectors which are today the carbon intensive sectors. The enhancements of a non-fossil fuel based capacity to 500 gigawatt by 2030, the enhancement of share of renewables, reduction in the intensity of carbon emissions are the stepping stones in our journey to become the net zero by 2070. So like while various countries are talking about their target as far as the net zero is concerned, the Indian target taken by the Indian government is 2070. So, and there is an intermediate milestone at 2030 with what I just now said, what is going to be achieved. And my sense is, based on the discussion that I have with various people, I think what target the government of India has taken as an intermediate target 2030, I think that itself is going to get reborn by maybe 2 to 3 years. And that actually shows the sort of intensification of the activities which will happen toward the decarbonization. The National Hydrogen Mission aims to make India world's largest hydrogen hub, and the national green hydrogen policies have been launched as an affirmative to our commitment. The role of hydrogen in road transport sector has already been carved out. As I said, certain sectors will actually be basically transitioning to the hydrogen economy. On the connected vehicle technology side, and connected vehicle technology actually is going to be the great enabler, and I think what we have seen so far is the tip of the iceberg. I think there is a lot that can be delivered by the connected vehicle platform, and especially in terms of the volume of the data that comes from the vehicle, the softwareization of the vehicle that is happening, and the data which can be actually, one can do the data analytics. It can create innumerable customer use cases where the customer can get benefited, and especially for commercial vehicles. I think that is something which is going to be the next frontier, I would say, as far as the growth is concerned. The safety, I think it is often said not in a good sense when it comes to the track record of the country as far as the safety is concerned. And we still talk about, despite so many interventions which have been done in terms of a regulation on the commercial vehicles, whether it is the truck body code, bus body code, requirement of the ESC, electronic stability control, or the requirements which are related to overspeeding, all of that, including the seat belt reminders and all of that. I think still, if you see the accident data of the last 3 to 4 years, I think it is still flat, which is around, say, 1.5 lakh per year are the kind of the fatalities which are being experienced on the Indian road, which is not a good sign, and therefore the safety need to be taken to a much higher level. And I am here talking about both the facets of a safety, both the passive safety as well as the active safety. And when it comes to the commercial vehicle, it is clearly the active safety, which is nothing but the one which can provide the early warning or early alerts to the driver of a potential hazard that he or she can experience. And therefore, from my point of view, we need to actually take the safety to the next level. And if I talk about the Tata Motor, we have been leading on this front, both on the PV and the CV side, and especially on the CV side, with the launch of the country's first ADAS truck that we did in the last year, which actually has so many ADAS features, active safety features, which actually help to prevent and mitigate the risk of the accident as far as the commercial vehicle operators are concerned. So while the technology will play a very significant role in the next 5 to 7 years, either it is because of transition to the zero emission side, or the connected vehicle features, or the safety, or the shared mobility. I think we need to be also cognizant of the fact that with this technology infusion that is going to happen in the vehicle, is actually going to provide innumerable opportunities. Because just imagine a case where that we don't have a technology, then what is going to be the industrial outlook, and what is being predicted that if we don't do anything, the industry is going to remain pretty stagnant. And from the entire ecosystem point of view, whether it is OEM, whether it is a vendor, whether it is logistic system providers, all of us, I think all put together, will actually be looking at and staring at like a no-growth scenario. And therefore the technology is going to be a great enabler, and therefore what kind of an opportunities the technology is going to provide and how do we leverage that. And this is where I thought I will just talk about the 4 areas. The first and very important is about the circular economy or the circularity. Clearly it is going to be the next frontier. To me, talk about the zero emission, maybe I think soon after 2 or 4 years perhaps we may take that as a hygiene topic, but the circularity is the one which is going to be clearly the next frontier, where we are significantly lagging world at large, not just India, and we seem to have just scratched the surface. So all the R's that we talk about, whether it's the recyclability, recoverability, and recyclability, and so many reuse, repurpose, you can name whatever you want to name. But I think there is a limit to which the Mother Earth actually can provide us the raw material. And if we have to truly reduce the carbon intensity of a product from any sector, it is important that we look at the circularity as a sort of avenue to work upon, to target. And the government's policy towards the scrappage, of course, is going to help provide the boost. But from the ecosystem point of view, we need to be actually designing the vehicle which is going to be circular in nature, which actually can have very high level of recyclability. Whatever we recycle and whatever we recover, actually it should get back into the industry. And today, despite so much of let's say the scrap that gets generated, the meaningful recycling that happens into the new product, and I am not just talking here about the automotive industry, but all the industries put together, is absolutely minuscule. So that shows that there is a frontier in terms of a new business opportunities in each of these areas of the ask that I spoke about, and people have been actually talking and creating the business models. So if I have to just give the example of what Tata Motor has done, we actually have a franchise operation called as a Rewire, which is that we take the used vehicles, trucks or the car from the customers, and we basically dissect, then create the let's say the bifurcation of what is recyclable, what is not, and then we actually feed it back to the original industry from where it has come. And the regulation, like even not just for the scrappage policy, but also the battery related the EPR, which is nothing but the extended producer responsibility kind of a regulation, is something which is going to further provide, I would say, the tailwind to this requirement. And I think that's a big frontier which is going to unfold in front of us. The second, the frontier which is going to come, enabled by the technology, is anything as a service. And some of you might be aware XaaS, which is nothing but anything as a service, and therefore truck as a service, battery as a service, tire as a service, this as a service, that as a service. I think why not finally, because this is so much unorganized today. There is a revenue pool which is sitting to basically harness the potential and provide actually very, very tailor-made solutions as far as the end customers are concerned. And I'm sure that the end customer is going to get benefited by this business model which is going to come. The third one, and a bit controversial, that I need to talk is about the future sales model. And already we are witnessing a sort of a shift in the mindset happening that why not the direct to the customer? So why do we need to have the, let's say, the intermediaries when the bulk order is to be serviced? So now this is something which has started as I would say the trend in the passenger car industry, and I will not be surprised if it comes to the commercial vehicle side. And this direct to the customer model, I think will first of all help to cut down some of the inefficiencies, some of the costs which are sitting in the system, and actually ultimately it's going to be the customer who is going to be the winner here. And the fourth one is about the software as a differentiator. So let's say the content in terms of the sensors and the actuators, the semiconductors, and the consequent evolution of the vehicle E&E architecture is going to mean that there is going to be a lot of, let's say, the software content. And I recently heard a statement from somewhere which said that software is going to eat into everything what we do. And that is absolutely correct. It's very clear. And this is happening under our nose as far as the commercial vehicle industry is concerned. And we are all engaged into redesigning, reformulating the vehicle electrical architecture. Some of you might have heard the terminology called as the software-defined vehicle. So therefore, ultimately, there is going to be the backseat that will be taken by the hardware, and the software actually will emerge as a clear differentiator. And this frontier actually can create number of opportunities as far as the let's say the new revenue pools are concerned, in terms of the personalization, in terms of the customization, in terms of lifetime value to the customer. And this is where we need to be watchful of, and how much that we can harness and take advantage of the technology which is going to be sitting in the vehicle. And all of this, when it is happening, it is for what purpose? I think the simple answer to this is the customer is the king, right? And therefore, if you were to look through from the eyes of the customer, the long existing tradition of sales, showroom experiences, performance, quality, reliability, low total cost of ownership, and the post-sales service experience is something in my mind is actually going to become very hygiene. Some of them have already become the hygiene. I think the remaining one or two also will become hygiene in the next couple of years. And therefore, what the customers demand of us, what something I said sometime back, is about whether are we going to provide the customized solutions, are we going to actually participate in the customer's business journey, are we going to help customers to grow their business, and therefore the lifetime value to the customer is something that they would be looking at, and we should be providing them that. And therefore, all the stakeholders of the entire chain will have to go up their stakes and keep the customers at the center of everything. So therefore, in conclusion, what I have to say is that we are actually transitioning to the next frontier where traditional approaches will get further challenged. There is a need for further innovation, collaboration and partnerships to embrace what is coming. Technology is going to play a crucial role driven by further intensification of the SS, newer value pools and the business models. The journey is going to be obviously arduous, but it's surely going to be rewarding. We all need to reinvent ourselves, and I have no doubt, given the significant track record of the CP industry ecosystem in the country, that we will surely conquer the next frontier. Ultimately, the winner should be the consumer at large and the nation as a whole. I am hopeful that the deliberations and the knowledge and the collective wisdom that shall emanate from today's conference here is going to actually support the growth and bring further momentum and the acceleration as far as the CV industry ecosystem is concerned. On this note, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me for this opening address of the conference and wish you all the best. Thank you.